Talk to us a little bit about diversification here before we finish things up.
Yeah, diversification. So really quick, one of the things with stocks, because that's typically one of the first things people refer to as stocks. Again, like I was saying, stocks are incredibly monetized. This chart here, what we're looking at is the S&P 500 versus the total assets of the Fed, ECB, Bank of Japan, and People's Bank of China in dollars. What we see is a clear correlation that as the balance sheet of the central banks increases, we also see a direct correlation with the S&P 500. Again, if you can predict what these issuers of currency or to what degree they're going to manipulate the ledger, then you can pretty much predict anything, including the stock market. And to the bottom right, you see pricing stocks in terms of gold. And you see the world's becoming more volatile. Again, since 1913, the creation of the Federal Reserve, are becoming more and more cyclical and boom and bust cycles. These things are becoming incredibly clear. And one of the more offensive ideas to people, again, to really hit it home for the average person, because the average person listening probably owns quite a bit of stocks. But one of the problems with stocks is that they're actually not going up in value in terms versus the political currency units that you're denominating them within. If we look at the top chart here in this green line, we think we have exponential growth in stocks and that stocks only go up and yada, yada, yada. But in reality, stocks have been virtually flat for half a century. They declined quite a bit in the 1970s as gold had a major rally, value transitioned out of stocks back into gold. And then we had the major dot-com bubble where everything was exploded. And then we've been pretty much flat since that crash. And people don't really understand this because when my stocks go up in price and I feel richer, and it's like, well, yes, because technology has made everything cheaper. Your stocks are doing nothing but keeping pace with the expansion of the ledger that you're denominating those stocks within. Again, when the money is a lie, the true value of your stocks that the stocks are trying to communicate to you, it is a lie. It doesn't make any sense. And you inherently then believe that the stocks are going up in value and everything else is keeping the same price. When in reality, it's like, no, the stocks are keeping the same value and technology is forcing the prices of everything else down. And the point here again comes back to monetary premium. If you compare the United States stock market in blue here versus the rest of the world, the United States clearly has a monetary premium because, again, if you're going to store monetary energy, why would you choose the second best stock market when you can just choose the United States stock market? And so when it comes to diversification and thinking about this, if I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here, one of the main ideas, and I love this graphic so much, one of my favorite Twitter folks out there, what you see here is that, again, for the first time, we have this ship that with a hole with no open flaws in the system. And so we have a consistent store of value, a consistent measure of global wealth. And if you stop thinking of the world in terms of corrupted political currency units, and you instead begin thinking of the world in terms of fixed, immutable electric energy units within a closed, finite system, what you begin to see is that the relative value of every other system in the world continues to decline. Again, to use the oxygen versus Mona Lisa metaphor, it doesn't matter how valuable oxygen is to your survival. If it's an open system with an infinite supply, its relative price compared to the finite closed system of the Mona Lisa has to go down. The relative value has to go down. And so you asked about diversification. If we look at this here, it pretty much doesn't matter what you own. It doesn't matter if you own stocks or you own Turkish currency, Argentine currency, gold, or real estate. Everything is pretty much going down in relative terms against Bitcoin. And one of the big frustrating things, again, when it comes to volatility, like you said so well earlier, is that people look at Bitcoin and think, oh, it's volatile, blah, 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 blah. It's a bubble, whatever. And then it crashes and think, oh, it's dead. It's like, well, what if Bitcoin is not skyrocketing in value, then crashing? What if instead it's the US dollar that's volatile? I mean, think about this dramatic rise in interest rates. What if over the last year, Bitcoin has not collapsed in price against the US dollar 70%? What if the US dollar has actually rallied against Bitcoin 300%? What if we're not in the middle of a Bitcoin crash? We're in the middle of a dollar's parabolic spike upwards. And so, and both these things can be true at the same time. I know Bitcoin's crashed, obviously. So, but it's just that mindset change that we don't even think about because we're so used to thinking about that a US dollar equals value when it doesn't, and it never has. So.
Yeah, I think for people that would hear that, like, I completely agree with what you just said. But I think for Wall Streeters, if they were going to battle back, they'd be like, well, Bitcoin is such a small market cap compared to, like, if you took all the world's fiat currencies, that that's why it's bumping around at such a volatility. And there's some truth to that too, right? But I think as we get further along on the timeline, and your opinion, my opinion is that Bitcoin's going to continue to rip in dollar or whatever fiat terms you got, if you got a long enough time horizon. As those market caps of these fiat currencies to Bitcoin start to reach a parity, it's going to demonstrate exactly what you said. Is you're going to see that maybe it's the fiat currencies that are the ones that are moving in such dramatic fashion, because you're kind of reaching similar buying power between the two networks, the two monetary networks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And one more word on diversification I really would like to add here. I know we're about to end, but one more thing I'd like to add is that this is some speculation of something that could happen. This is already happening. This chart that I've had up here for a minute is the US dollar against Bitcoin in logarithmic terms, again, because you can only think about technology in logarithmic terms. What we see here are clear lower lows and lower highs of the US dollar against Bitcoin for over a decade. This is nothing new. It's not just started. It's only getting faster. And it's not just the US dollar, it's also assets, again, talking about diversification. Political currency units, again, the dollar, have been trending to zero against Bitcoin for over a decade. Rent and housing has been going down. And this is one of the things, again, you'll go back to one of my favorites, Jeff Booth, we think deflation's bad. We think prices going down is bad. When in reality, it's good. It's good when rent goes down. It's good when food prices go down, because prosperity is becoming more affordable. For the first time since we have a fixed immutable ledger, we can have the productivity gains of society flow back into the global monetary stock instead of being debased, inflated away in a breaking of physics and corruption of the ledger. So this is a good thing. This being one of those main examples that rent and housing is continuing to go down. And so likewise, Tesla stock has had a great decade, but it's still down against Bitcoin because it's a more open system. Gold's going down and stock indices are going down. It doesn't matter if you're the NASDAQ or Dow or S&P 500, your mutual funds, whatever. I hope that you're enjoying this video, and I hope that after this video that you begin taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, as that is extremely important. And that also includes keeping very good care of your seed phrase and not just writing it on a piece of paper. So I encourage you to check out this video's sponsor, Stampseed. Say goodbye to storing your seed phrase on paper and electronic devices, right? With Stampseed's DIY toolkit, it's a revolutionary way for you to secure your seed words on a titanium plate, not just a piece of paper. With professional metal stamping tools, you can easily hammer your seed words into a commercial-grade titanium. They've been doing this for they've been doing titanium for 13 years. Now it's fire resistant up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's off paper. It's completely secure for you to keep your seed words on. Again, fire resistant, crush proof, non-corrosive, and immune to the passage of time, unlike paper. Each letter is deeply impressed into a solid plate, not just the dots like other competing plates. So it's guaranteed to not lose pieces or have varying materials. So secure your hardware wallet with a titanium stamped seed and safeguard your Bitcoin for generations to come. So thanks. Let's get back to the video. And probably one, I say in the slide here that they're going to zero. I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably should have said they're trending towards zero. In the same way the oxygen never quite hits zero, it gets motor release. So these things will probably never quite hit zero, but they'll continue to have 80, 90% declines, continually forever. It doesn't matter what you own. This is one of my favorite charts to get the point across.
Before you go to this last one, I think it's really important for people to know that it's not like you're saying that the value of Apple or Google or any of these companies is zero. You're just saying that in a world that has been conditioned to think that dollars and euros and yen are valuable, and that they're this valuation in today's terms, when you move to this exponential, event where things are going to be valued in this monetary energy, the valuation is way different to what you think the value of, call it, one Bitcoin is today. And it's so drastic that it makes it look like it's trending to zero, but it'll never get there for a lot of equities that continue to produce tangible value to society and have products and services that people actually want to use, right? Like, that's not going away. It's just it's a little hard for people to wrap their head around if they haven't put a lot of deep thought into what some of that actually means.